Superman and Lois, episode 5, ladies and gentlemen. Girl, you gonna be's a woman soon. It's your boy Icon back with some DC TV. Red Eyes Entertainment is back with some more superhero recaps. Thank you everybody that's been taking the journey with me. And we're back from break. We're back from break. All the DC shows came back this week and we're here to review them all. So, this particular episode starts. This episode was not about Superman or Lois. This episode was about Allie, and it was about the Cushion / Cortez family. And that's why we got the title that we got, which makes it awkward for me to do a thumbnail for this. But in this particular episode, it actually starts with Allie, who we get a little bit of her backstory, where when she was a kid back in 1979, 1 year before I was born, she received her inheritance, I guess, from like her dead dad or whatever. When her dad passed away, he left her a pendant. And the lawyer that was there present during like the reading of the will, he even warned her and said, listen, this pendant destroyed our family and we can break the cycle right here if you don't take it. But the person that read the will said that, well, if she doesn't take it, she doesn't get the inheritance. And of course she wants the money. So she took the inheritance and she took the jewel. Now, we find out this jewel holds the key, and I've been saying this for 4 episodes now. This jewel holds the key to Bizzaro World, where everything backwards, Justice of the Super Friends. Crissy, she ends up going to talk to Allie. And Crissy was pissing me off. Like, she been pissing me off because, like, she talked to Lois earlier, and then she was just like, oh, I don't trust you, Lois. And then she ended up going to talk to, to Allie so she can get her own information, get her own answers, and she can discover the truth for herself. While Crissy's talking to Allie, Allie basically drugged her. She offered her some tea that had something in it. And then when Crissy had said to her, she was like, well, what's the truth about what you do here? And then that's when Allie said, I help people cross over. And then she was just like, but you're talking about faith. And then she was like, no, this is actually truth. And she said, you're about to find out. And then that's when the poison kicked in and Crissy passed out. After Crissy passed out, Allie took the pendant that she had got when she was a kid. She took the pendant, which also looks like the exact same pendant that the Bizzaro Superman had around his neck the entire time. She takes the pendant and puts it around Crissy's neck. And then after she puts it around Crissy's neck, Crissy, she was passed out at the moment. Crissy eventually came to, and when she came to, she saw this other world that Allie was talking about. And then that's when Allie was just like, oh, we've got ourselves another one. But it didn't work. It actually didn't work out the way Allie had thought. And I appreciate Crissy in that moment, but we'll get to that in a second. So now Crissy basically, like, she got transported off into Bizzaro World, and now she woke up and now she's back. Superman and Lois now, they're trying to figure out what they're going to do, as far as the Allie situation is concerned. Clark is trying to figure out what he's supposed to do about the Bizzaro Superman. While Lois is looking at some film footage on Allie, she notices that the black woman, the general black woman, the one that was at the construction site that her and Crissy had interviewed earlier, she noticed that woman was at one of her like rally seance things, like one of her cult meetings. So then she thought that was kind of weird because she was like, why is this random person who's the head of this construction in the mines? Why does this person conveniently just happen to be a member of Allie's cult? So she goes down, Lois ends up going down to the construction site to go confront this woman and find out what her connection is to Allie. When Lois gets there, she sees the Bizzaro Superman, and the word Bizzaro got dropped in this episode like 50 million times. She sees Bizzaro, but then when she sees Bizzaro, she saw the black woman who basically got her head snapped and like turned around. That was really gross, but they ain't have to show us that. Like they could have just showed like her body from the shoulder. They did not have to show her body facing this way and her head turned that way. I was just like, that was totally unnecessary. But anyway, but then when Lois sees Bizzaro, Bizzaro looks at Lois and then he dips. Lois calls Clark in, and then when Clark shows up, that's when Lois was just like, yeah, he saw me, and then he disappeared. And then that's when Clark was like, well, maybe he's married to a version of you on his Earth. But then that's when Lois discovered it might not be that, but it might be that both of them are basically chasing the same enemy, because there was a picture of Allie on the floor that the Bizzaro Superman had tried to destroy. So clearly, Bizzaro has an issue with Allie, and now Lois is just like, yo, that's who his target is. So now Lois and Clark, well, Lois and Superman, they go down to Allie's apartment, her the room that she's staying in, the hotel or whatever. They go to the hotel, and then when Lois comes into the room, she sees Crissy, and then she's like, bitch, what are you doing talking to Allie? And then Allie immediately thought that Lois and Crissy set her up. She was like, is this some sort of trap? And then she was just like, no. She's like, I didn't know Lois was going to be here. And then she was like, Crissy, why are you here? And then Superman comes in, and there's like, why is Superman here? And then that's when Superman was just like, listen, bitch, like Bizarro's coming to get you. And then she was just like, oh my. And then, he heard Bizzaro coming. That was a cool sequence because he ended up pushing Allie out of the way, and then the Bizzaro busted in the room. He hit Clark instead, and then Bizzaro and Superman are now getting into a fight. When Crissy had said, she was like, who is that? What is that thing, and why is it fighting Superman? Allie had made a face, and Lois peeped that, but she didn't put her on blast in that moment. She was like, yo, let's just get out of here. Because she told Alice, she was like, listen, whatever drama you and I got, this ain't got nothing to do with our beef. She was like, yo, this dude's trying to kill you, so we need to get you up out of there. So the three of them dip. Lord knows where they put Allie. And then after that, like Bizzaro and Clark, and Superman, they got into a fight. Superman ends up defeating him. He used some of the crystals that was in the mine to basically knock him senseless, and he knocked out the Bizzaro. He took the Bizzaro to the Fortress of Solitude to go talk to Clark's mama. Because we had his dad in season 1, but because the AI that contained his dad is destroyed, his mom is now taking his place. So his mom's AI is in the Fortress of Solitude, and she has the Bizzaro, and she's going to do some analyzation tests to discover, like what's really going on with him. The general didn't want to give Superman the pendant. He asked for the pendant. General was like, no. So now this brings us to, well, hold on. Before I get to that, Jordan is being trained by his grandfather. Jordan told Jonathan that he was being trained by his grandfather, and Jonathan took that as an excuse to get all up in his feelings because he has an issue with the fact that his brother has superpowers and his brother is deemed as special. And not for nothing, his grandfather actually didn't help either because he was kind of like throwing shots at him. Like Jonathan did like 50 push-ups in under a minute. And then the grandfather was just like, well, I'm sure your coach will think that's cool. And I was just like, really, dude? Like, it's like, you don't have to like stomp on Jonathan at the expense of Jordan. Like just to big up Jordan. Like that's not really necessary. So because Jonathan was made to feel like complete shit, he goes back into his bag. He ends up taking the inhaler that has, like the crystal dust that gives you magic powers. He ended up getting Superman power because he still has the power where his vision, his vision is more increased. So he goes back into the barn. He has his power. He has power now. And now he's just like, oh, why don't I take on Superboy one-on-one? And then the two of them start fighting. And then Jonathan hit Jordan with the two-piece combo with extra biscuit and knocked him out. After he knocked him out, he was just like, oh, Grandpa, I think you're training the wrong kid. And I think he needs to chill with that because if you want to take the inhaler in order to give yourself superpowers just to make your brother look bad or just to show your grandfather that you ain't no bitch, like, that's fine. I'll accept that. But he's putting himself in a situation where people are going to expect that from him now. And you can't get your hands on the inhaler once the supply runs out. Like him and Jordan didn't get into a confrontation then. They actually got into it later on. And they got into an argument later. And then Jonathan's eyes lit up red. And then when his eyes lit up red, that's when he was just like, oh, Jordan was like, you have powers now. And then he was like, yeah, but don't tell mom and dad. AKA, I don't have powers. I'm just, I'm on the juice. And, it's like, and I don't want them to know yet because they're going to get mad. So they decided to put that conversation on hold, and we moved on. Now, the Cortez Cushion family. The episode was basically about Sarah because the Cushion family, the Lana Lane family, they're Latino, like they're Latino and Latina. According to Kyle, he said that, their grandfather changed his name from Cortez to Cushion because he felt that with a Spanish last name, he couldn't get any jobs, like in Smallville. So the family ended up going back and taking the Cortez name. So now they're the Cortez family. They're no longer the Cushion family, which is a lot better anyway because the whole damn family's Spanish, and it's like we might as well just run with it. Sarah wasn't really feeling it because she's not the type that gets all dolled up and dressed up. Plus, she still has like emotional anxiety and things of that nature. But it's her quinceañera, so she has to be celebrated because she's a woman now, and she has to do like the whole deal. They ended up having her quinceañera in the barn of Clark, like what's his boy last name? The Kent family. They ended up having it in the Kent barn. And as soon as they said that, like, oh, thanks for letting us use your barn, so we can have our quinceañera, I immediately said, hey, wait a minute, where the black people at? Like, what happened to the black people? Because the thing is, John Henry Irons and Natalie, they were working out of and apparently living out of the barn. And I'm like, if you just gave the barn to the Latino family, where the black people at? And then, but they said in the beginning of the episode, they're just like, oh, John Henry Irons is in the hospital still, and Natalie's there taking care of him. Lois made a care package, to take to the hospital or whatever. So I was like, so this is how we get the black people off the show. I was like, so, because there was no Irons family at all in this episode. There was no Natalie, there was no John. They had the episode off because since this episode was geared more towards the Cortez family, so in order for us to focus on the Cortez family, we got to get rid of the black people. And I was just like, that's fucked up. I gotta see what you did there. But I said, but now they gotta, do the whole thing. And it was very slick, kind of like how they got them off the episode. Anyway, so so during the party, Crissy ended up going to the quinceanera, which and that was jacked up too, because there was a moment where when Jonathan and Jordan showed up at the party, Sarah had apologized for not inviting Jonathan's girlfriend because she was just like, oh, because of the guest list and blah, blah, blah. She was like, we didn't have enough room to, to sit all these people. And the first thing that popped in my mind is, that's his barn. So for you to say, oh, there was only a certain amount of people and we couldn't invite all the people we wanted. That's his parents' barn. So you gonna tell Jonathan he can't bring his girlfriend to his parents' barn? What if his girlfriend just wanted to visit her boyfriend and they just wanted to hang out and chill? She just can't walk into the barn just to see her boyfriend. That was bullshit. And it was followed up by more bullshit because Crissy showed up at the barn. And I'm just like, you gonna tell me that Jonathan's girlfriend wasn't allowed to come to the party because you didn't have enough room on the guest list, but Crissy's ass was and Crissy was eating food. It's not like Crissy just showed up to talk to Lois. Crissy was eating food. So I'm just like, bullshit. And y'all kicked the black people out the bar. So anyway, so Lois confronts Crissy, and then she was just like, oh, how could you go speak to her without me? And then she was just like, oh, how are you going to lecture me when you've been lying to me from day one? And then Lois was just like, yeah, you're right, I'm sorry. And then Chris was like, thank God you apologized because, girl, that bitch is crazy. And I was like, thank you. Like, Crissy said, because I was ready, like, honestly, like, I was ready to turn on Crissy, but because Crissy's whole thing was, she was like, yo, I saw Bizzaro World. She said, I saw the Bizzaro version of myself. She said, I saw the Bizzaro version of my daddy. She said that it's different. Everything is the opposite. Like I keep saying, Bizzaro World where everything backwards. And she said that Allie over there, she runs the place and she's like a tyrant and a demon. And I feel like she's talking about her Bizzaro self, but she's like, yo, Allie runs this bitch. And she was like, yo, she drugged me and everything. She was like, yo, what you said about her was 100% accurate. She was like, yo, we seriously need to do something because this bitch is crazy. So now the two of them are back on the same page, which is good. And they're going to try to come up with a plan to take Allie down, but God knows where she went after the Bizzaro attack. Sarah wanted to go outside because Sarah's not the best when it comes to like social gatherings because she does have anxiety and she does get a little, like freaked out. So so her and Jordan, they went outside just so she can catch her breath and get her thoughts together. While they were outside, her dad got a text from the woman at the bar that he was apparently cheating on his wife with. The woman showed up and she was like, you're not returning any of my texts and I haven't heard from you in so long. And he was like, because I'm married, bitch. But then she told him that, she said, I thought you were going to leave your wife for me and you didn't. And she was like, I was devastated and distraught. And she said, due to her grief, she ended up telling her best friend about their affair. And the current mayor, he spoke to her and paid her money to talk about the affair. So she was just like, listen, my friend spilled the beans. And he was like, why would your friend do that? She's like, because he paid for it. And then she was just like, listen, he paid her to spill the beans. So the mayor knows about our affair. And she said, I just wanted to let you know and give you the heads up. So then she left. And then after she left, Kyle basically like walked away frantically because he was like, yo, the cat's about to come out of the bag. And then unknowing to him, because Sarah and Jordan were in the parking lot because she went out there to get air, she overheard the entire conversation. So then when it was time for the father-daughter dance, the two of them danced for like 30 seconds, and then Sarah started having a panic attack. And then after she started panicking, she went back outside, started crying, and then her dad went outside, and then she was just like, oh, how could you? I heard what you said. And then Lana's fine. Lana looked good. In this episode, I mean, Lana always looked good, but in this episode, I was just like, damn, bro, you cheated on that. But anyway, so Lana came outside, and then she was just like, oh, tell mom what you did. And then he was just like, she was like, oh, you were out here talking to some handsome woman. And then Lana immediately, she was like, the bartender? And I was like, okay, so yeah, I had this conversation before. And then she was like, oh, you said you were just going to the bar to blow off steam in more ways than one. But then, you know, she was just like, no. She was like, no, Kyle. She was like, we'll talk about this later, but tonight we're here to celebrate our daughter. And then after that, like, you know, like I give Lana a lot of credit for that because like she held it together. Like she held it together Cortez strong, I guess. Well, I guess it's back to cushion now. But they went back into the barn. They addressed the you know, like the people. They addressed like the friends and family because everybody kind of wanted to know why the girl just walked out. You know, like they didn't tell her about the affair, obviously, but Lana gave a nice speech, letting her daughter know that she was there for her. And then she was like, you know, we're gonna get through this as a family. And everybody clapped and applauded, and it was very cool. This is gonna be some shit, and Kyle needs to basically just tell her straight up because the thing is, the mayor's whole thing is he's going to try to use this to destroy their family. But he can't use this information as ammunition if they already know about it and nobody cares. So the Cortez family is about to go through some serious shit, and I don't know how long that's going to hold out because Sarah, she's like very like emotionally unstable, so this whole thing could blow up at any moment. But I'm definitely interested and want to see where it goes. So then after that, after the whole thing was over, then Clark got a call from his mama. He went back to the Fortress of Solitude, and then he had a conversation with Bizzaro, and he was like, I should have killed you. And then he was like, why didn't you? And then he was just like, oh, you need to do what's right because this woman's going to destroy your world. And he was like, what woman? He was like, the woman that you saved earlier, which was Allie. And then Bizzaro was like, oh, she destroyed my world and everything in it, and she's going to do the same thing to yours unless you do what's necessary and kill her. And you know, Superman don't kill. So after that, that's when Superman was just like, oh gosh, you know, and then that's how the episode ended. So this is kind of cool. It's like, it's weird because we're only 5 epissodes in and this show got deep. like usually maybe by like episode 8 or 9 it gets this deep, but good God, this got deep right out the gate. And thank you for tuning in. So share your questions and your comments because like I said, I'm like the whole thing with Jordan is going to blow up in his face extremely because he's going to be in a situation where he's going to try to pretend like he has superpowers. And then the moment he tries to pull off this charade, his powers are going to fail. The inhaler is going to run out and he's going to end up getting addicted to it. Natalie will be the one to pull Jonathan out of the fire. I guarantee it. Jordan is going to attempt to try to help his dad. That's why he's training, and he's going to get his ass beat, and he's going to be like, I'm not worthy, and blah, blah, blah. Lois, I don't know what Lois and Crissy going to do, but I'm glad they clicked up. And like I said, the Cortez, like, on a show called Superman and Lois, the writers, they're doing a very good job of making me care about Lana's family. And but share your questions and your comments. Let me know what you think about the episode. Let me know what you think about each individual storyline and how you think it's all going to shape up as we progress moving forward. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Instagram. Always check me out on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so we can share all this superhero goodness because we got 4 superhero shows. We got Superman. We got Naomi coming up on the channel. We got Legends of Tomorrow and Batwoman, which only have about 2 episodes left. And then after that, I guess we'll just hold on to Superman, Lois, and Naomi until we get Young Justice, which is returning. And I'm also doing the Batman. So thanks for tuning in, guys. So until next week for some more superhero action. Up and away. Until next time, about this. Yeah!